Hi again, everyone. This is the second weekly exercise for the Studio module, where we're going to convert last week's observational sketches into aerodynamic speed forms. This exercise is still going to continue to develop your line flow, line weight, and basic hatch shading to communicate form and volume, but we're also going to introduce center lines and contour lines to help describe the shape of a surface. So this speedform sketch is an overlay using this original observation sketch as a guide. You can see as I'm flipping over that I'm actually not going to be too concerned about taking every line that's underneath, and I'll be modifying some of those lines as well. My objective is to try and come up with an interesting aerodynamic form, and this is actually a result of multiple overlays. So I've chosen to show you this as my final design, but to achieve this form, I did a couple of overlays, and that's something I'll show you in the demonstration. So from last week, you will have 2 pages, hopefully just like this. So for this week, you'll be submitting 2 pages with 4 sketches, where each of those observation sketches have been converted into speed forms. So you're probably going to find that it'll take a few goes to come up with a nice shape and a nice form. There's a couple of ways to approach this exercise, and that is you can take a full A3 sheet, throw it over the top of your sketches, and start to convert each of those into a speed form. Another way is to take an A4 sheet and use this as a practice page, because it'll take some time to generate a nice speed form. So you can be less precious with this, right? So if I just have a look at the lines underneath here and just start to search for a shape. So I might take the full silhouette, something like that, and then have a look at the lines underneath and see how that might influence surface or edge or a detail or a feature. Maybe something like this. So even if I just took those lines and then tried to communicate this as a volume, so I'm going to add a top center line, probably to about there, and then contour line. So this contour line is as if this was a solid object and I cut through it, what would this surface shape be? So I might say it's rounded like that. At this point, I'll say, yep, it's rounded. But maybe when it hits this line, it actually changes shape and goes into a curve. So this is actually like a little overhang or a scallop. When it gets back down to here, maybe it just flattens out, still slightly curved. So that gives me an indication of what's happening on the surface at each of these points. Then I can come in and give it some line weight. Remember, this is just a draft, so I'm not going to worry too much about getting it perfect. I might think about shading, so if I'm going to have a light source from above here, and this is rounded, then I might have this point where it turns away from light, something like that, and then hatch shade it. Just let that fade out. And then because this is an overhang, it might have a little bit of a form change through here. And this is fairly flat. I'm saying this is pretty flat, but it might also have a little bit of a radius. Okay, so that's a first pass. That's one interpretation of that sketch. Let's do another one. Now, you don't have to do multiple ones. I'm just saying that it might take some time or a couple of goes to get used to it, the idea, especially with these center lines and contour lines. But if you're happy with that form and it communicates well, then I'm very happy to have that received for feedback. But let's just do another one. Still using that same shape or the same sketch underneath. I'll try and do a different approach here. So I might say, I'll take this line, take this line, so I'm still using the lines underneath as a guide. I might take this line, okay, some surfacing. So I might say this comes up to a ridge. This is the center line, top center line. The cross section might be here, so that's the shape of that surface. It gets to this point and it flattens out. And these contour lines and center lines are left quite light, okay? They're just like a construction line. If I do another one through here, it's similar to that, right? It flattens out vertically, similar to here, but then maybe at this point it tucks under, similar to what I did here. And then at this point, maybe it's just flat. Then choose light source position. I know that here might be a bit of a cast shadow, similar to there, hidden from light. Line weight. Let's see, this edge might be a ridge or a hard edge. And just to show some shading, I'm just going to make that lighter. Okay, so it's the same form underneath, a very different interpretation of what that might be as a speed form. Once you do a few of these, you might choose one that you actually really like, that you want to get some feedback on. Then you can use this as an underlay, get an A3 sheet and position it where the original sketch was and trace it off as a nice cleaner version, if you like. So by the time you submit the page, you will have, of course, 4 different speed forms. Whether you use this technique or whether you just use an A3 sheet over the top and do 4 sketches or speed forms per A3 sheet, that's up to you. Okay, but this is just a method. So I'll just do one more. Okay, I might take this line, this line, this line. It's all going to be inspired by the original sketch. In this instance, that's going to be the center line that goes to that point. It'll go through. I'm going to do something funky here and have that recessed. So this is the cross section. And just by showing that contour, this is actually recessed in, and I'll indicate that with some shading. When it comes to here, it flattens out, okay, on the side wall. And then I might say that one more contour line, scallops through, gets to the side, straight down, and tucks under. So I've got a little bit of a radius through here, okay, and then maybe through here, it's actually rounded. So these contour lines are really helpful in communicating a surface change. Yeah? A little bit of line weight. And I'm making this heavy to bring this edge forward. Of course, this is the baseline. Let's just make that a bit thicker. You know, any mistakes on this page is no problem because it's just an exploration, right? You're practicing and searching. Again, that's up to you if you want to do this. I say just you do because it takes a bit of time to just get used to the exercise. If my light source is coming from, same, up here, then this is concaved, right? So I might have, let's say, this in shadow. And hatch that out. Just to show that it's concaved. Add a bit of line weight here. Light source from this direction, right? So a bit heavier here. And then lighter towards the light source. If I make this harder, it'll bring this edge forward. And then here's our silhouette. I want this to be sharper. Then, because this is curved, I might have a bit of shading through here. This is quite flat through here, so I might do that and just hatch this out. And obviously you're just adding extra line weight and definition where you see it's necessary to sharpen up the sketch. Okay, so something like that, just to show you how I might interpret this into a speed form. Again, same approach. I'm just going to use an A4 sheet and just do a couple of versions. Being quite loose about it, okay, because it just takes time. And they can be, I'll do this much looser so that you know that, I think the previous one I spent a bit more time just making it nice and clean. But if I just take these lines, now you can see, I'm quite happy to overshoot, okay, and just flick it over. I'm still taking the line underneath to guide me. Okay, we'll take this full curve. It can be this loose. All right, I might take this line and modify that line. Now to communicate some 3-dimension, I add my center line, top center line. This will help communicate it in perspective. So it might do that. Center line's quite light, yeah? Then as it comes up here, what might help is to say this is actually quite round. So that's a contour line. And then as this comes up, it goes up, over, like that. So that's my center line. It's rounded here as well. Okay, so another contour, not too many contour lines, but just enough to communicate what's happening on those surfaces. Another contour. Okay, maybe this kicks under and then rolls. This might be just a surface change. Okay, bit of shading. Yes, light source above, but probably in this direction. That's where it might be turning away from light. Quick hatch. This is that ridge, like an overhang ridge. You know, and if this is the chosen form, speed form that I want to redo, then if there's any mistakes or it doesn't quite communicate as accurately, I can just spend a bit more time. But this is just the first pass, right? And then maybe this is radiused and curved, so it might do that. Just hatch this out. Okay, and then of course, once you've got that, just like with the observational sketches, you can come in and add your line weight. But this is just a draft, right? Practice run. Turn your page so that you can punch up your line weight in that natural curve of your hand. Okay, so that might be one version. Still using the lines underneath. Contour. So I'm saying it's rounded. Here's my center line. Goes up. This is scalloped. Over. So basically what I'm saying is this is an recessed. This is curved. The recess might look like this. Again, that's just a contour line, right? Then this is just an edge that fades and becomes part of this curve. Bit of shading, light source from this direction might hit this lip and create a bit of shading. I can do a cleaner, neater version of this for when I'm going to hand it in for assessment or feedback. And then this is all quite rounded, right? So it's going to turn away from light, somewhere like that. And then hatch all this out. So we're not turning anything into prisms, pyramids, boxes. Okay, it's a speed form exercise. Nice and fluid, aerodynamic, and flowing. So that's pretty loose, but good enough for the purpose of just exploring and finding a speed form. So let's say you've used that process for each of the 4 sketches on this page, and you came up with this particular speed form that you like on a sheet of A4, this particular speed form or shape that you like for that particular structure, and then of course you have the other 2. You can then use these as underlays, do a cleaner trace off over the top, then you'll have 4 speed forms on each page. You'll have 2 of those pages done this Thursday, and I'll give you some feedback. All right, good luck guys.